Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. This is your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer, Martine Williams, and host of the show. I am excited to just bring you a really quick episode today, and it's inspired by the EntreLeadership Summit that I am actually attending. It's the first summit or conference or personal and professional development that I've attended probably in over a year, and it's virtual. So it's just something my local church is hosting, and it's amazing. So it's a Dave Ramsey conference or summit. And today was day 2 of this conference. I have one more day. And I'll just say that my brain is like, what is going on? Like right now, seriously, my head feels like it's about to explode because it's just been a while since I've kind of been in that setting. And it's interesting, even though I'm in this season of rest and I'm not really leading, air quotes there, leading a specific team or people right now. We're all in leadership positions. Especially if you're a parent, if you're a mom, someone is watching you and following you. It's just where are they following you to? How are you leading them? Are you leading yourself well first so that you can lead others well? So I just wanted to share something that really stood out with me from yesterday's session. So yesterday I got to hear from, of course, Dave Ramsey. I've never heard him speak from main stage. I've taken his financial peace course, and I've read, a book of his or two, but to actually see him and hear him, he's a pretty no nonsense kind of guy, if you didn't know that. And I love that. I love to shoot it straight. He's been just really kind of hammering in like a relationship revolution. Like we need to get back to connecting with people eyeball to eyeball, not via Zoom, not all this digital stuff. Like it all has its place. But what really excited me today was because I've been feeling this too, and maybe you have, like, it's the relationship piece is starting to bubble back up. It's going to bubble back up. Like we are tired of the disconnect and we want to reconnect with people. And so I'm excited to see how we can utilize digital and all the amazing resources and efficiencies that we have with digital, but also how can we bring the human connection point and find a way for them to kind of marry together. I don't think Zoom or Google Meetups or any of those are the real answer. They've been a great an interim, but there's something else. And he kind of was talking about that today. And that's just really exciting for me because I am a relationship person. I love being eyeball to eyeball with people, having those in-person conversations and connections. And it's just really hard to, create that same experience digitally. As a coach, I coach people via Zoom that are in all parts of the country. And that's what we do because that's what we have available to us, right? But I love being able to grab a cup of coffee with somebody or go to lunch, or like today, this week, being in person with people at a conference and getting to hear people's stories. And it's just something that fires me up. But one of the things they talked about yesterday was that 40 million people have changed their jobs since 2021. 40 million people have changed their jobs since 2021. And it's because we've all kind of sat back. We've had this time of isolation, this time of slowdown. And I said this when, the pandemic first hit, is that the crisis that came in front of us caused us to self-reflect. I know for me personally, when I got COVID, it slowed me down, right? It put me on my back and I had to sit and think and feel and really think about my life. And am I spending my time with the things and the people that I want to spend my time and my resources and the relationships I want to nurture? Am I in the profession that I feel like God wants me in? And so one of the things that came out of this, and maybe this is where you are, maybe you've kind of been through that self-reflection. And if you haven't heard my full story and the big transition that I had the beginning of this year, you want to go back and listen to that episode. It's called We Didn't See This Coming. I can't remember what number that one is. I think it was 14, maybe 24. I feel like there's a 4 in there. Anyway, you want to go back and listen to that. But maybe you find yourself in this position and you've been self-reflecting, but maybe you have a story in your head, one that I had in my head on repeat, that this is the only option. This is the only option. And one of the things that his name is Ken Coleman said was capable versus calling is the difference between life draining and life giving. And that has stuck with me, y'all, since yesterday. And I posted it on my Instagram story and several of you reached out and were like, wow. Because there are a lot of things that I'm capable of doing. And there are a lot of things that you're capable of doing. But are they the things that are part of your calling or that God's calling you to right now in this season? And maybe what you've always done. I was in direct selling for 15 years. I loved it. I still believe in the industry, still love the company that I was with, but I felt called out. And I'm capable, and I was capable of building that business. But I'm honestly, in this season right now, I'm learning a lot about myself, and I'm learning about who I became in those 15 years that may not be who I am at my core. And it'll be surprising to some of you. And I'm going to share more about that and some of the ahas that I've had in future episodes. But for right now, for this kind of short, quick episode, I want you to think about, are you where you are right now professionally because it's what you can do? Or is it because what you're called to do? Is it something that's feeding your energy and feeding your joy? Or is it draining your energy and draining your joy? I really want you to think about this. And I think that is why there have been 40 million people who have changed their jobs since 2021, because they're starting to ask themselves these deeper questions because they've had time to sit and think through it, right? That life is short. We've seen that life is precious. And just because we're good at something and just because we're capable doesn't mean that it's purposeful or that it's our calling in this season right now. And a kind of formula that Ken Coleman gave, which by the way, I'd never heard of Ken Coleman until yesterday. And he was really, really good. There's 2 books I've already added to my stack that I want to read this year. But the formula he kind of put out there was talent plus passion plus mission equals purpose. Talent plus passion plus mission equals purpose. So you may be talented, but if you're not passionate about it, it's going to be really hard to get up and go to your desk and do it, right? If it doesn't feel like it's, part of your mission or part of your calling, even though you're really good at it, that goes back to being capable versus calling. Can be the difference in being life-giving and life-draining. And I feel like that has summed up kind of the journey that I have been on and feeling life drained and feeling like I was not in that calling. I was not where I needed to be, but I justified staying. Because it was a great opportunity. I'm really good at it. It's very comfortable. Comfortable from a financial position, comfortable because I've been there for 15 years, like all of those things. And I just really want to challenge you to think through some of these questions and keep asking questions. They keep, they ask you to define your why, and you have to keep peeling back the layers. I was talking about this with a lady at my table today that, it sometimes takes 8 layers to get to the deep root, right? So why are you where you are today? Why are you staying if you're feeling called out? Or why are you staying if you feel like you're being drained? Is it because it's just what you've always done and it's comfortable? Is it because there's a comfort level there and security? I get all of those. But is it sucking the life out of you? And is it how you want to continue to live your life? Another guy that spoke actually today, and again, another person that I'd never heard of before, was Patrick Lencioni. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he was a fantastic speaker. And he kind of spoke to the talent part, right? And he talked about the 6 types of working genius. And so he's really specific. So I know some of you have done the Enneagram, you've done Strength Finders, you've done DISC, you've done, Briggs and Myers, like all the different personality tests. And I've actually had Becca Johnson on here to talk about the Pro Scan, which I love and just recently went through. And it's just been life-giving to me to kind of learn so many of these things about myself. So whichever one you want to use, I think it's good to kind of investigate some other ones. This one is very specific to the tasks you're doing at work in your profession. And I've not taken the assessment yet, totally going to, but it really talked about the 6 types of genius. And he mentioned something that you've heard me say here on this podcast before, that burnout is not necessarily because you're doing too much work. It's that you're doing too much work that doesn't bring joy and energy. You're doing too little of the things that bring joy and energy. And so like one of the 6 geniuses is galvanizing, which is someone who likes to inspire and encourage and push. And another one is an enabler. And there's a bad, connotation of that word, but basically this is a person who likes to come and support and help. Well, those describe me. And if you're not able to do those things in your profession right now, then that might be why, even though I'm really good at some of the other things, if I'm not spending a good amount of my time in those strengths and those natural born gifts that God has given us, that the Pro Scan also showed me as well, then you can see why burnout happens. You can see why you're feeling exhausted at the end of the day. Now, sometimes we have to do things right in our profession that we don't absolutely love, but that doesn't mean that you can't find even a position in where you're working at currently where you can incorporate your natural gifts and talents. So I don't know what the name of his survey is, but his name is Patrick Lencioni, and I think his book is called The 6 Types of Working Genius. Don't quote me on that, but he really just, talks about what is feeding your energy and your joy. So I also got to hear today from the It Cosmetics. I've heard her story before, Jamie Kern. How do I say her last name? I can't read my handwriting. Hold on. I'm going to have to go in this book so I can say it right. I think it's Kern. Yeah, Jamie Kern Lima. Sorry. And her story, like I've heard her story, but to hear her share it live and all the details, y'all, I was seriously like waterworks were turning on the entire time. But I want to leave this episode with these 2 questions that she kind of gave to us today. Number 1 was, what has listening to the no's and the self-doubts already cost me? So maybe you're in that position where you're kind of self-reflecting over, okay, this is what I'm capable of, but I don't feel like this is maybe where I'm called to be. And you're listening to, well, you could never do that, right? Either in your own mind, or maybe you have somebody that's just a negative Nelly. And every time you come with an idea to kind of move towards the calling and versus what you're doing right now, she's just a Debbie Downer. What has listening to the no's and the self-doubts already cost you? What has it already cost me? The second question is, what will my life look like 5 years from now if I don't change my relationship with rejection and no's? Like how you see rejection, do you see it as a redirection? Do you see it as a protection from God when you get a no, or when you are rejected on an idea or rejected on something? Like we have to change our relationship with rejection and hearing no. So I love those 2 questions. And so this episode is not like giving you, right? I'm not really feeding you. I'm actually asking you to self-reflect a little bit. And I want you to think about capable versus calling equals life draining versus life giving. And then those 2 questions that I just gave you, to just put some pen to paper to really think about it and know that you're not alone. Again, 40 million people have changed jobs since 2021. You're not crazy for thinking about leaving that job that you've been with forever and ever and ever. You're not crazy for maybe trying to go out and do something on your own. These are the kind of questions that are being asked and that people are self-reflecting over. And I just wanted to give those to you today to think about. I'm super excited about the month of June and the episodes that I have coming up with you. They're all going to be turquoise talks. I'm going to be honoring some men since it's Father's Day month. I'm going to be honoring and interviewing husbands, dads that I have seen support their wives as mompreneurs and that are doing it really, really well, because it's a question I get all the time in coaching. How do I get my husband on board? How do I get his support? That's just a relationship. And it's just sometimes really difficult when you're excited about it and he's not. And so I've asked a few of my friends to come on to the episode. So that is what June is going to be all about. So it'll be a great month for maybe your husband to tune into the podcast, for you to share it with your friends who maybe are mompreneurs, and this is an area that they struggle with. Today's episode is super quick. I really want you to think about capable versus calling, and then those two questions that Jamie Lima challenged us with today. So I will catch you on the next episode. Thank you so much. And y'all know I am believing in you always. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.